Hello, welcome or welcome back. I am super excited. I think I'm 12 subscribers away from having 100, so I'd like to thank everybody who has subscribed. Today's story is The Bound Woman. In the 13 Ghosts movie, the bound woman's name is Susan LeGros. Susan lived a privileged life. Her parents were the wealthiest people in town. As a result, Susan was the most popular girl in her school. She was a member of the school's cheerleading squad and dated the captain of the school football team. Her life seemed perfect until her boyfriend, Chet Walters, caught her cheating with another boy on prom night. He clubbed the boy to death. Afterwards, he tied Susan up and strangled her with his tie. As he strangled Susan to death, he broke her neck, then buried her body under the 50-yard line of their high school football field. In order to find a real-life bound woman, I looked for a story with two elements in common with Susan LeGros' story. The first element of the real-life bound woman consisted of the aspect that the victim had to be murdered in a way that had something to do with her being tied up, bound, or hung. The second element contained the idea that the perpetrator was a current or estranged boyfriend or husband. The idea of the privileged life and cheating being a motive for the killing did not seem to me to be an important part of choosing the true crime story that fit. I chose Ritika Singh for my real-life bound woman. Privileged by beauty, style sense, and a very likable personality, Ritika Singh was indeed popular by her own right. At 30 years old, Ritika was a social media influencer from India. She would blog about food, travels, and fashion. Most of her videos were of food recipes and fashion hacks. With 44,000 followers, the beautiful, vivacious Ritika was a successful influencer after starting her blog just 2 years before her death. The path of Ritika's eventual fate would start in 2014 when Ritika Singh and Akash Gautam became husband and wife. Ritika's family has stated that only a few years into the marriage, Ritika was physically abused. Allegedly, she was burned with an iron and often physically assaulted by her husband and her husband's family. Sundar Singh, Ritika's father, made a police report shortly after the marriage. Unfortunately, nothing could be done about the abuse, and sadly, Sundar alleges that Ritika gave the police a statement that was in favor of Akash and his abusive family. Ritika's brother, Utkarsh Singh, also alleged that Ritika would provide money to Akash and his family. For income, Ritika worked as a teacher and kept a social media profile. For 6 years, she was bound by marriage to her treacherous husband and his wicked family. However, 3 years into the relationship, Ritika had become friends with a man named Vipul Agarwal through Facebook. In 2018, after she finally separated from her abusive husband, Ritika and Vipul started living together. 2.5 months before Ritika's murder, her and Vipul had moved into an apartment in the Nagla Mewati area, Agra in Uttar Pradesh. On June 24, 2022, Akash was seen with 4 other people walking into the apartment building where Ritika and Vipul currently lived. Police later confirmed that Akash had found out about Ritika's whereabouts shortly before he decided to visit the apartment. According to Vipul, when the 5 assailants entered the apartment, Vipul and Ritika were immediately assaulted. After being assaulted, Vipul was locked into the bathroom. Then Akash and his accomplices tied Ritika's hands together with a rope. After the murder investigation, police would confirm that the people who came with Akash to the Shri apartment were his family members, which included 2 women. With her hands still bound, Akash and his family threw Ritika off of the 4th floor balcony of the apartment. Ritika was rushed to the hospital and was declared dead on arrival. Shortly after her murder, Ritika's sister-in-law and estranged husband were arrested along with 1 other accomplice, and police began a search for the other 2 alleged participants in the murder. A CCTV video captured Ritika's fall and what appears to be Akash trying to remove the ropes that had been used to bound Ritika's hands. As of now, this case hasn't come to a full resolution. Like the character of Susan LeGros, Ritika was undeniably beautiful and popular, but both met a tragic end, bound and murdered by a jealous, rage-filled man who couldn't let them go. The bound woman is the 3rd ghost in the Black Zodiac. The bound woman corresponds with the dark side of the Gemini Zodiac. According to the Black Zodiac, Geminis have different personalities, and it is difficult to judge such a person. At times, they will behave like everything is normal, and within a second, you might see their other face. Be clear regarding your thoughts while talking to a Gemini. If I had to interpret this to mean something that corresponded with Susan and Ritika's story, it would be this. It is obvious that Ritika suffered abuse in her relationship. She was probably forced to lie to police and pretend that Akash and his family didn't abuse her, but she did have an Instagram presence, which allowed her to live an almost double life. With Ritika's social media popularity, she was able to portray an image of herself that did not consist of the horrific situation she was and had been in. Like Ritika, Susan also had a fan base of onlookers who could entangle themselves in the view of a seemingly perfect life admitted by these beautiful, seemingly flawless women. However, both of these women had a dark side. In these 2 cases, these women suffered from a dark, destructive bond to men who would brutally claim their lives. I've heard people reference their spouse as their other half. Perhaps this is the true meaning of the Black Zodiac. Perhaps the other face of these 2 women isn't a dark side of their own, but the dark side of the man that has bound themselves to these women.